Yo, what's shaking, everyone? My name is Robert Bruski, and welcome to Where Passion and Purpose Collide, an incredible podcast that I am super excited to be guest hosting today. And I'm guest hosting because the two other individuals you hear and see on this podcast have some huge news that they want to announce. So I would love to introduce them. If you're wondering who I am, you might remember me from such organizations as Control V, Good Company Productions, I Am Startup, Ange and Rob Rants, the Founders Institute, Reaching Our Outdoor Friends, Innovating Inclusion. I can keep going, but it's not about me, right? We're talking about my friends, Beck and Liz. So let me tell you a bit about Beck and Liz, all right? Rebecca Monet, she is the CEO and Chief Scientist of Zoracle Profiles and has been in the franchise consulting and psychometric assessment business since 1993. She's known for her uncanny ability to draw performance correlations, and she's fascinated with neurology, neuroeconomics, and human performance as it relates to business success. She's the inventor of the meta-analysis methodology used on Zoracle spot-on profiles and spot-on eclipse reports. And these things, they categorically compare prospective franchisees to a franchise system's top performers, so you can rock it in your franchise business. This meta-analysis approach provides insights no singular profile, survey, algorithm, or assessment can, and has changed the way in which franchise companies recruit and select franchisees. So Beck created and founded this Zoracle profile system, and these tools provide franchise companies a means to reduce their training, the support, and litigation costs while increasing franchisee satisfaction, validation, and performance. What?
Yay!
Good job, Robert.
I'm not done. Zoracle has helped thousands of individuals desiring to own their own business find the right fit for them. A business in which they have the highest likelihood of success and satisfaction. This spot-on system is Beck's most comprehensive and predictive work to date. What? So, welcome, Rebecca. So happy you're here on your own podcast.
I know. It's so fun to turn the tables, right?
Yeah, how to turn tables. All right, awesome. And now on to my other friend, Liz, Elizabeth Denham. Elizabeth Denham is publisher and editor-in-chief of The Franchise Woman. Elizabeth has a passion for helping women find and use their voices both in their businesses and in their lives. This passion has led her to produce The Franchise Woman as a resource to provide inspiration, practical business tools, and new opportunities for entrepreneurial women in the franchise industry. Now get ready for these accolades, okay? Elizabeth has had an extensive career in writing, digital media, and marketing. So she's the editor of Relocating, now help me with this, Liz.
Fuck here.
Is that right?
Yeah, Fauquier County, yeah.
Relocating Fauquier County, and has edited and written for Relocating Baldwin County. She has written and published 2 books, Sweeten the Deal, How to Spot and Avoid the Big Red Flags in Online Dating, which is a memoir and advice book for women going through divorce and dating, as well as Moving Day, Overcoming the Fear of Change, a children's book. She wrote a blog on the Huffington Post for 5 years and has appeared on HuffPost Live and the Daily Brew television show. She has also been featured on one of my favorite shows, John Tesh's Intelligence for Your Life. Awesome show. As a relationship expert, she uses her project, The Pursuit of Humanity, Voices of Alabama, to demonstrate her belief in the humanity of all and to advocate for the acceptance and understanding of the LGBT community. What? The highest of fives to you.
Back at ya.
What's shaking?
Oh, we are so excited to be here with you, Robert. It's such a fascinating thing to have the tables turned this way and have a conversation. we're so used to asking all the questions. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah,
Okay.
relinquishing control is an interesting experience.
I know. It's a lesson just in that.
Let me assure you, I do not feel like I have any control. You can relinquish anything.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so you guys have some huge news to share, but before we get to that, because I'm sure your listeners and viewers are just going to be super excited for this, I want to make sure that you guys have the opportunity to sort of share with it where this came from. And I think I kind of want to start around this podcast, because there may be some people that are new to viewing this. This may be their first time viewing this podcast. So I'm gonna ask one of you guys. I mean, maybe Liz, maybe Beck. I hope it's okay that I call you that. That you kind of explain what this podcast is about.
Well, it was really the intersection of two women on a similar path, unbeknownst to each other, who had the same vision in mind, and the partnership just couldn't have been more perfect. So when I started the Franchise Woman magazine, Rebecca immediately reached out and was all excited that there was going to be a publication focusing on women. And she recently, in the last couple of months, became a partner with the Franchise Woman. And through that, we put ourselves into this podcast situation where passion and purpose collide, which is, I think, one of the things that we like to talk about a lot in people's professional lives and personal lives, is when your passion and your purpose meet, that's where the magic lives, and that's where success can live, and that's where healthy relationships can live. So we address all of those things, but from our perspective, it's something that we've both always been excited about, helping women, succeed, and grew from that point of view. And then between the two of us, after the podcast, this whole new thing started to evolve. And Rebecca, do you want to tell him about why we think we're such a good partnership?
Oh yeah, we're a great partnership. For a lot of great reasons. It's so easy to be a part of a group where everybody is think-alikes. Let's call them think-alikes.
Mm-hmm.
But Elizabeth and I have very different views on many different things. Politics is an example. Parenting is another example. Single life, married life, raising children, religion. So we have very different views, and yet we have one thing in common, and that is an appreciation for the differences in people and a desire to empower, edify, encourage women. So we truly believe by bringing these different perspectives, we will open up a dialogue for women, where maybe we were separate based on our beliefs and based on our history and based on our cultures, me being born in Europe and Elizabeth being American. So there's a whole lot of differences. So we're hoping to open up conversations and dialogues and ways in which women can come to the table and build community, even with their differences in many, many different areas. So far it's been a fascinating ride as we get to know one another, and this mutual respect and love and appreciation for one another is showing up in spades in terms of the impact we've already had on women.
Okay, so that's really interesting, because there's two things that both Elizabeth and Rebecca mentioned here. Elizabeth mentioned that you're kind of on the same path, right? The same goal. And Rebecca sort of mentioned a bit about how you're different people and you're able to bring different opinions to the table. So what I'd like to ask you both then is, given that, knowing that, what would you say your individual passions and purposes are, and how that has come together into what you're doing and what you will be doing? Let's start with Elizabeth.
Okay, well, the funny thing is, finding the way to amplify your passion into what you do for a living, I think, is the greatest gift. And it's taken me a little while to navigate that path. But it's always been, when I've strayed from that path, things have not gone well. And if I could choose anything to do with my professional life, and this, permeates my personal life as well, it would be this. And that is because I have always had a spirit of advocacy. I've always been for the underdog, the marginalized. I want everybody to have a voice. And you mentioned in my bio, I focus a lot on LGBTQ, but also women. I have 2 daughters, and watching them navigate professional worlds. My daughter's got a pretty big job at a corporate organization, and facing the things that women face and helping guide them through that. So I've always felt like you go through things in life in order to help other people do better, learn from your mistakes, open doors. So my passion truly is telling stories, writing stories, advocating, and telling them through the podcast has been another outstanding way to do it. And all of those things that led up to this have sort of blossomed into this new career path. So that's kind of where I come from.
Yeah.
That's Elizabeth. What about you, Rebecca? What's your passion and purpose?
So, and as Elizabeth pointed out, they do collide. As a scientist, as a behavioral researcher, I am fascinated with success and happiness and fulfillment and contentment. So my background, of course, is all about measuring what causes people to be successful. And the thing that keeps coming up in all of my research is this incredible untapped potential of women, especially in franchising and in business. Marker after marker, psychographic marker, where women excel, but franchisors and others are not taking advantage of those particular giftings that women have. So for me, it's about using data and science to empower women. And then the other side of me is a businesswoman. I'm all about profit, right? And so it's one thing to have a lot of kumbaya and want to make a difference and want to touch people's lives and change a paradigm, which we both want to do. But it's also about monetizing it in such a way that it can grow. Without some kind of ability to monetize things, it's impossible to have the kind of impact that we're hoping to have or build the community. And then the third piece, of course, is I'm all about connections. And I think this is my European upbringing, where it was about family and community and having each other's back and supporting each other. And I think the world has created more moats around our hearts and more moats around our lives, and this pandemic, of course, has created even greater distance between us. We're more of a virtual world, and women are not wired to be isolated. We are wired to come together and quilt and have a cup of tea. We don't even, that's what we're wired for. So,
You'll never see me quilting, though. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll do something else that's fun, paint or whatever. But we are wired for community.
Yes.
And we don't have that same level of community as what we used to have, or women used to have 30, 40 years ago. We want to recreate that, because our true power as women comes from being within community.
Well, I had a list here of trigger words that I wanted to use, and I've had to cross off kumbaya, moat, and quilt. So I don't know what else to do. Show's over. Okay, so that's really cool, because one thing that I always think about when I'm making a decision or trying to do something or get involved into it, I think about satisfying 1, 2, or 3 of various kind of purposes or outcomes. 1 is, does it make me money? 2, does it make me happy? 3, does it make me a better person, right? Sometimes you can get all of them, sometimes not. Oftentimes you'll get an immigrant or refugee that comes to a new country and they can't deploy their skills or their education. They have to work really, really hard labor that maybe their body isn't suited for. Makes the money, may not make them very happy, but they have to do that to support a family or their growth in their new country or whatever. So what I'm kind of seeing is how you guys are taking these, making money, making happy, and making a change, or making yourself better. And you're really invoking your individual superpowers. Insert kumbaya.
That's my favorite word, by the way. Well, second favorite, next to bodacious.
Bodacious.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, we were talking earlier about how I mispronounce words, so eventually I'll probably mispronounce one of these, and you'll be like, what is he talking about? Was he really the right choice for this? Okay, cool. So we know your purpose and we know your passion and how they've collided. And so we were chatting, and you guys have something huge that you're launching that's going to be taking your superpowers and it's going to be applying them to this purpose and passion that you have that is going to further change multiple different types of industries and demographics, which is so exciting for me to hear. So I'd love for you guys to talk about it. I do the drum roll, but my computer would probably shake. So maybe you guys can draw straws as to who says exactly what it is, because this is so exciting. I cannot wait. Anyone out there who's watching or listening to this, make sure you focus. If you're watching like the most recent sports game, or you've got, reruns of Friends going on, just put it on pause and slowly listen to this. Take it all in. What do you got for me?
Who wants to go?
Elizabeth, why don't you talk about this big project that we're unveiling, the Codery for women.
Okay, so we are unveiling and launching for anyone to sign up for the Codery for Women is what it's called. It is a community of like-minded women who want to live richer lives by being in community with women around the country or around the world. We'll take anyone. We will not exclude anyone. The purpose is to, number one, find community of people who have similar interests, similar professions, similar ideas. Number two is to learn with courses, webinars, speakers, all kinds of engagement in terms of that. And the third one is to contribute, to offer what you have, what is your gift, what knowledge do you have, and share that with the people in your community, in your new Codery. So Rebecca, do you want to talk about how the Codery is going to be organized in terms of circles and courses and that kind of thing?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So the Codery is a software platform. So you want to kind of envision it as a combination Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or a learning management system all wrapped up into a single software platform. So as a woman, you can join the Codery for Women and meet other women. And then there are circles that you can go into, Codery circles. So if you're in franchising, you also want to join the Franchise Women's Circle so you can interact and learn from and take courses from, build relationships with, meet people for lunch in your own city, or if you're traveling, if you're in franchising. But there will also be other circles. If you're into pickleball, you can go and join.
I know what pickleball is, but why would you pick that?
It's just the mood I'm in.
That's her go-to example every time, and I'm like, I don't know what pickleball is, actually.
You've got to check it out. It's fun stuff. So yeah. You didn't like quilt, so I went to pickleball, right?
Well, maybe I'll like that. I'll have to try it and let you know.
So each of these groups will be obviously managed by someone that has that particular purpose or that particular passion, or can provide tools and services to help you be profitable in that area, but it's always going to be about community. So if you join the Codery for Women, you may actually be in several different circles, especially if you have, like you do, Robert, many different passions. You may be joining several different groups and building community within those groups and contributing to that particular group.
Perfect. Okay, so on that, I got a question for you. Why'd you call it the Codery? What's the logic behind that name?
Okay, Elizabeth was the one that came up with the name, but we knew it needed to be a term that talked about community, but an exclusive community, because who are we leaving out, right? So it had to be, sorry, right? Just the way it is. We love you, but. And so we wanted a term, so we threw around a whole bunch of terms. And How did you ultimately find the word coterie? Because it was a single word that described exactly what we wanted to create.
Yeah, the definition of the word coterie is an exclusive, like-minded group of people with a common goal. And I was looking up words like sorority or tribe or whatever, but they were so overused and common that I was looking at synonyms for that, and the word coterie came up. And I had actually watched a television show where a group of young people lived in a place called the Codery, which was a communal living space. And we're not a communal living space.
No.
But I was familiar with the word because of that. And I was like, so I Googled the definition, and it was exactly what Rebecca and I had been trying to put into one word. It's a coterie of women, and the coteries, the circles will be coteries of women who, have similar, more narrowed interests. So it was just a great, all-encompassing, unique word. And Rebecca's like, what if nobody knows what it means? I said, then they can Google it, and that will be engagement.
That's right. We'll teach them.
I love it how even the name of this platform, this system, has some thought and purpose behind it, focused around your passion, right? Because you could have called it just like the exclusive girls club,
Yeah.
We thought about it.
We went through a list, but we wanted it to be meaningful and impactful and unique, because as this grows, we want everybody, every woman in the country to know when you say the coterie, that's us.
Mm-hmm.
There is really not maybe one or two little clothing stores that might use that word, but nobody else is really using that word in the way that we're going to use it. So I'm excited about it. I love the name of it.
I love the name too. We played with actually making up names.
Mm-hmm.
One of the names we tossed around was Woman Nation. Woman Nation, so the word nation and woman put together, Woman Nation. But it still wasn't enough, right, to totally describe this idea of passion, purpose, profit, community, which is what we want to create. It wasn't enough. So Codery really does say it.
Perfect. Okay, so when somebody signs up for the Codery, I know, Elizabeth, you mentioned some things about like different webinars and speakers and all resources. What can they expect? Like Rebecca, you said this is like a software portal. They log in online. I suspect it is cloud-based. They'll be able to join groups. And is there like a schedule on what's going on? Is there thought like how would they contribute what they're going to want to add to it? Because that's something you also mentioned, right? It's not just there to listen and learn, but also contribute and put back into it. So what's the sort of process of what somebody would go through when signing up with the Codery or for the Codery?
Well, you're going to go to the main Codery page. That's the very first step. And when you get there, there's going to be a feed similar to most social media platforms. You can search for articles. You can search for that. You can do a quick post, just like a little quick Twitter type post. You can add videos, and then you can join these coteries. Now, there will be a calendar of events because we may do a course that's like a 6-week course that involves some, videos, learning videos, and then maybe some live chats. There are live chats that we can offer. Those will be on calendars. Some will be specific to the circle, so you'll have to be a member of that circle to join. Others will be for the whole coterie in general. So those are some basic ways that you can get in there and sort of explore your topics. We have a ton of content on there already. The podcast is on there. The Franchise Woman articles are on there. We've got some other articles on the way that, I've written in the past for women. But then, and if they want to participate more, we can have people are going to host each circle. So we're going to have an expert, say for the Franchise Woman, that will host that circle and manage it and provide content and get contributors. So if you had a course that you wanted to promote on the Codery or be a part of the Codery, then you would reach out to us and we would have a discussion about how that fits into things. And then it's a way you can sell your content. If you have a course that you want to promote and sell to other women. So just to talk about pricing a little bit, the Codery itself is going to be a subscription-based platform. The entry fee is going to be a very low price point. And then each Codery circle that you join will have a slight add-on. Just a couple of bucks, nothing much. Then the courses, if you want to take a course, those are going to be separate. So you're not required to do any of that, but you can. So someone who wanted to sell their course on the Codery, would partner with us, and we could help promote it across the platform to help them grow their audience. So it's a lot of ways to participate and to promote your own business, but also to share the knowledge that you have to help other women.
Perfect. So you mentioned earlier that it's not just about franchising. There's an opportunity to talk about anything. Like you said, pickleball. I'd probably be looking for something called mycology, which is the study of mushrooms and fungi. I love mushrooms.
Okay. Wow, that sounds like a very interesting group.
Yeah.
But what I was going to ask is about the demographic of people going to this, specifically the age group, because I know there's a large movement, especially amongst females at a really young age, to start contributing to society and the betterment of everything around them. So maybe you could talk a bit about the ages of the people that are welcome, that should join, that might want to consider it, that sort of stuff.
So this is a nice part about stage of life, right? That what we have to contribute as a 20-something-year-old is valuable, and what we have to contribute and what we need at 30 and 40 and 80 and 90 is different. So the Codery welcomes all age groups. Now, naturally, you're probably going to go into various circles based on your stage of life, but I can tell you, at my age, as a baby boomer, I'm going to be joining Codery circles where I can learn to dance in the privacy of my own home by watching a course on that, right? Because I know they can't see me, and I can watch some instructions. So I'm going to watch a 26-year-old dance instructor. I'm going to go over to that particular Codery to participate in that. So there's no age or demographic. The only demographic is woman, right? That's really the only demographic that we're going to be focusing on. And then the individual needs. And as Elizabeth pointed out, each Codery is going to be hosted by someone that we consider a subject matter expert in that area. Maybe it's a mommy and me group or something of that nature. And then they will be kind of facilitating those conversations and content and engagement and those kinds of things. So Elizabeth and I don't have all of the expertise. We want to partner with, and we want to help monetize some of those courses for others that are experts. And our job is to procure that kind of information and then to build the membership base, so folks can go to one place to find many different ways that they can plug in and build community.
Cool.
And just some examples of some Codery things that we've got lined up are, we have a blended family one on our radar, because I have a blended family and have spoken a lot on that issue. But also we've got a woman who's committed to teaching courses. Hers is mindset cultural coaching. And she's a Black woman from, her family's from Cape Verde, Africa. And she comes at racism from internal perspective. So the world needs to change, clearly, in a lot of ways. But as a woman of color, how can she channel fear and anger and frustration into positive change in her own life? So she has a coaching program designed to help women of color and children of color, that's another focus for her, manage it from an internal perspective and channeling it in healthy and productive ways, instead of just getting beaten down or angry all the time or whatever. So that's another example of so there's going to be a wide variety. At some point, we're going to have a pride section for the LGBTQ community. And then we can have millennial women or baby boomer women or single women, mothers, so all of these different categories you should be able to, but the nice thing about the overall Codery is that it will encompass all age groups, and we can all learn from each other. Because I think it's important for the younger generations to learn from those of us who have been around the block a couple of times.
That's awesome. Okay. So I want to ask you another question here, and this may be a little contentious, and I already know the answer because we spoke about it. But I think it's so important for your viewers and listeners to know this. and it has to do with the concept of this being for women.
Mm-hmm.
I was working with a startup called Untangle Money, and they were creating financial planning just for women. And what they kept getting hammered with is, why are you doing this just for women? Men have issues with this too. Why are you pricing your, like, eliminating half of your market share? You know, and in your case, you know, if you're going after profit, you could get more if you had all the genders involved. If you're looking after idea sharing, everyone's got ideas. So being the devil's advocate, why would you pigeonhole yourself just for women?
I'm a big believer in niching. And when we niche, we go deep in a particular market. So I think that's number one reason. Number two, and probably most important, is the needs of a woman are different than the needs of a man. And our job is to address those social issues that women have, relational issues, financial issues, to address the woman at a place that she can relate. So women are just different, no matter how you look at it, and our needs are different, our pain is different, our fears are different. So we wanted to create a safe platform that addresses the needs that are unique to a woman. And Elizabeth would probably tell you, and she probably could talk about this more, we do have a token male section.
Yeah.
You are our token male in this example.
Well, exactly. And we don't want to be completely exclusive of men, because there are, we spoke to Jane Plitt recently, who is the first executive director for the National Organization for Women on the national level. And she went through women's rights era in the 70s and was a part of integrating the JCs and the Rotary Clubs so that there was no sex discrimination there, and eliminating some men's only grills in her area because they couldn't go eat with their business coworkers, where a lot of deals were done and relationships were built, and women were excluded from that. So her perspective was very inclusive of men in terms of getting the men on board who would be supportive of elevating women in business and opening doors of opportunity for them in terms of funding and opportunity and advancement and growth and education. And she had men in her circle who were of the same mind, you know, because I believe that unless men are on board, women are not going to reach the same plane. It's any marginalized group. If in racism, if white people don't get on board, black people are not going to ever feel equality. Same thing with homophobia. You know, you got to get the straight people on board. So we want to include men, but we want to include them in a way that is empowering. We want men who are on our team who want to help and promote and teach and support. So we do the token man came up as a joke in the magazine. When I started, I was working with my sister and I was like, I should do a token man. I think that would be so funny. And we just laughed it off. And like a week later, she's like, I really think you should do that. So we did. We incorporated the token man, and one man writes an article in every issue of the magazine. And then we're having the same thing on the podcast. And we're going to have an advisory board. We want men on the advisory board. We want men to have a course. You know, we've got some men who've done a lot in terms of helping women succeed in their individual businesses. So, you know, it's important, but women do have different needs, and women still, you know, they're only 33% of franchising. That in executive positions across the board, they are a very small number still. So having women support other women to get into those positions by supporting each other and creating more business opportunities for each other is important, not to the sole exclusion of men though.
Right. So true. So, and not just from a business perspective are we wired a little bit different, but relationally we're different. Our health is different. We have different needs emotionally, physically. So I think that's kind of why we've decided to kind of focus on that, but not excluding men in terms of serving on the board and potentially providing content and helping us make connections. I can tell you my career wouldn't be where it is without three very specific men that have made a huge difference in my life. So
Mhm.
we love you guys. We
I
love
know.
you guys. But this is a girls' club.
Okay, so for anyone out there listening, specifically the women, if they want to sign up for the Codery, when can they do it? How do they do it? Where do they find it? Give me the details. Give me the juice.
You've got to go to www.thecoderyforwomen.com and put that www in there because it makes it come right up. And right now we are offering entry points free. It's free to join the Codery. It's free to join any of our circles for a limited time only. So get in there while it's free. Yeah. And, it'll probably be a 60-day free period. And then we're going to start the subscription service, which will still be incredibly affordable. But for now, we want as many women as we can grab to start joining our group and creating some buzz and excitement for us.
That's awesome. So www.thecoderyforwomen.com. And there is an introductory promotion going on too, right? And everyone will hear that because this podcast is going to be all over the place.
That's right.
Spreading word about the wonderful things you're doing. So just before we wrap up, I'm wondering if there's something specific that either of you two want to leave with your listeners about what we've spoken about today, or something that you find is just so important to hammer home anytime you have the stage to help people around you.
I think it always comes back to the same thing. We are more when we're together. And that's the whole purpose of the Codery, is to build a community, to share our hearts, to share our lives, to share our futures together. So it's really all about that, and it's becoming increasingly more important for us to become conscious of that and deliberately create these kinds of relationships that we are hoping will be lifelong relationships with these women.
I agree, and I want to tell you briefly about what happened to us the other day. We're doing a series called The Gift of the Struggle, and we're interviewing women in a very brief interview about a struggle that has been unimaginable in their lives and what gifts they have ended up learning from it, because no matter how difficult the struggle, there is always a gift. And if you can hold on to that, then you're going to make it out, right? So we interviewed this woman, Tina Erickson, whose daughter went through an addiction, and it was a horrible, horrible time in her life. She was 15. She's now going into her senior year. And we interviewed her, and she told us her story. That's going to be coming up soon. But she texted me after the interview, and this is what she said. She said, "You have no idea how healing it was to say, 'I am not ashamed of Siddha' out loud to you. What a beautiful and healing experience. Thank you for this opportunity." And to me, that's what it's all about. It's about allowing women the space to feel safe to talk about these sorts of things and then heal from it. I think she felt like it was cathartic, and she owns it now. The stigma is hard for her and her family, and by saying it out loud, you reduce that stigma and you improve the perception of humanity. And I think that is what the purpose of all this is.
Perfect. I love it. I dig it. Well, listen, thank you so much for being on your own podcast today.
Well, thank you so much for helping us out today, Robert. It was the perfect way to get the word out.
You know what? I have a great time. I love you both. This is always so much fun. And I'm sure whoever's going to watch this, everyone's going to watch this. They're really going to enjoy this because we had some awesome conversations, and I'm so happy that you had this opportunity to launch the Codery this way, because one of the best ways is video, right? One of the best ways is audio. You could put a post out on Facebook if you want, but this is just going to hammer.
This is it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you again.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged. I am your guest host, Robert Bruski. And of course, thank you to Beck and Liz. And all three of us wish you another purpose-filled and profitable week.